If we could identify a goal for the next 3-6 months and then focus on that goal, and that might be building muscle, our food choices are going to fuel that and should be directed toward that goal. It's not about eating good or bad, clean or dirty, whole or processed. It's about what serves your goal. Welcome to the Wits and Weights podcast. I'm your host, Philip Pape, and this twice-a-week podcast is dedicated to helping you achieve physical self-mastery by getting stronger, optimizing your nutrition, and upgrading your body composition. We'll uncover science-backed strategies for movement, metabolism, muscle, and mindset with a skeptical eye on the fitness industry so you can look and feel your absolute best. Let's dive right in. Wits and Weights community, welcome to another bonus episode of the Wits and Weights podcast. This conversation is from my appearance on Marc Paisant's podcast 6 a.m. Run, where we discussed nutritional periodization, emotional eating, reframing your food choices, strength training, and body composition, and lots more. I've edited this down for time, so if you want to listen to the entire episode, go follow or subscribe to the 6 a.m. Run podcast, which is not so much about running as it is about staying in motion, and we are definitely all about that. Okay, enjoy this episode.
I believe the most important part of this whole process is connecting that mind-body state. I believe that is important in getting that mindset correct. However, people seem to forget how important nutrition is and how important the food you put in your body is, because I don't know why it is. People kind of put that last. They'll put the rest and the food last. But kind of talk about those two parts of this process for you and how and why they're so important.
Yeah, it's true. I think people, you've heard you can't outrun a bad diet and concepts like that, where activity is given a lot of weight in our world, even when people aren't necessarily doing the most effective activity for them. Oftentimes it is some excessive form of cardio, right? And they get results that don't quite match what they think they're supposed to get. And you could look at the dichotomy between, say, sprinters and marathon runners and draw some conclusions there potentially. But we have to periodize how we approach our body, our training, our mind, our relationships, and our food. I think everything in life holistically goes through seasons and goes through periods. And a lot of people either live in a cloud of uncertainty and they're like, okay, before long, I'm just too heavy and now I need to do something. And they go to some opposite extreme, of like cutting food. Or they try to go in one mode for too long. They try to go into I'm going to cut calories. It's the way to do it. I'm going to go on that for a long time. Or
I feel like you're talking about me right now. I feel like you're specifically talking about
It's so many people, Mark. It's so many people, right? And you mentioned the maybe lack of focus on nutrition and it's more on other things. Some people are like, I'm just going to train till I can't train anymore. I'm going to get sore. I'm going to bring my heart rate up. I'm going to destroy myself. You get these terms like, oh, I was destroyed in the gym. Must be effective, and thinking that that's going to do it. And I don't know if people are just afraid of the hard work that it takes with your diet, or if it's a lack of awareness. It's maybe a little of both, right? It's a little of both, because even when you learn what to do, doing it is a little bit of hard work at first to get there. So talking about periodization, where I'm going with that is, if we could identify a goal for the next 3-6 months and then focus on that goal, and that might be building muscle, our food choices are going to fuel that and should be directed toward that goal. It's not about eating good or bad, clean or dirty, whole or processed. It's about what serves your goal. And what's nice about this is you can break it down into, say, 4 months from now, I want to build, I want to add 10 pounds of weight and build some muscle. Okay, I need a certain amount of calories and protein to do that. And now that's going to drive me to pick, lean meats and animal sources for my protein, or dairy or plant sources. And all of a sudden you're saying, I need fiber, I need water, I need protein. And it directs your choices rather than don't eat this or don't eat that. Right. So I don't know if that answers your question, Mark, but yeah.
No, but it does answer my question. And it's a great segue into something that you talk about a lot. And it's like not limiting yourself in the type of foods that you eat, because you're absolutely right. Someone will get into a place where either they look in that mirror one day and they're like, okay, I got to stop this. Or they may go to a doctor's visit and say, you know what, we got to do something about this cholesterol, or about this blood pressure, or about you're pre-diabetic. And all of a sudden, they hear one word and like, okay, I'm cutting every bit of sugar, every bit of salt, I'm cutting everything out of my life right now.
Right.
And you kind of teach like that's one, that might not be the healthiest thing. And two, that's not the point of all this. We can get through this and you can still enjoy the foods that you want to. So kind of talk about that and how you allow people to know that food is not bad. It's fuel. We need it. And how can they kind of change or reframe their thinking on that?
Oh, you hit it on the head with the reframing. When somebody thinks of food as good or bad, I think Alan Aragon called it a straining the moral conscience. Like you're actually making it a moral decision. And because it's a moral decision, you're making it about you. And you're saying that you are good or bad when you choose these foods. There have been studies since the 90s that compared rigid dietary approaches to flexible approaches. And just to define that for a second, rigid means there are rules and there are things you can and can't have. And this might be in the context of a diet like keto that says you can't eat carbs, or in the context of a meal plan. And I know you're a nutritionist and there's a place for meal plans, but when it's like, here's exactly what you eat in these amounts forever, people can't do that. That's just not, that doesn't jive with you, being a human. And on the other hand, a flexible approach is, we're going to set some targets for energy and for macronutrients, but then you're going to choose the food. And they found time and time again that the rigid approach led to an inability to maintain your weight, an increase in your body weight, and an increase in negative health markers, and also lack of control. So the control of this rigidity causes a lack of control because you end up binging. Like you said, you cut out salt or you cut out, fat or carbs. And your body's just going to crave that so much. The temptation is going to be overwhelming. So the other approach that I like with clients, and this works whether you're building, maintaining, or losing fat, it gets a little bit more challenging when you're losing fat because calories are lower. But it's let's eat 10 to 20% of our calories. Let's devote that to whatever you want, and then the rest, let's use a little more restraint and eat whole foods. Now, I don't say it that way. What I say is, you've got 60 grams of protein and really we need 140 based on what we're trying to accomplish. So how are we going to do that? And I want the client to kind of figure that out with me. And oftentimes they come up with a solution, but if not, I'm there with, my list of high protein sources and such. And they're like, wow, if I go to the grocery store and I need all this protein, well, I can't be getting bags of popcorn. I can't be getting, pizza because these don't have enough protein, but I could get some Greek yogurt or cottage cheese, and I could buy eggs, and I could buy beans or oats. And you start to change your decision-making process to serve the goal rather than what some guideline has for you. Now, once you do all that and come Saturday night and you're saying, I still have a little room for some fats and carbs, and maybe even I want to have a glass of wine, and it all fits in there, enjoy it. That's all I like to say. So that's the sustainable approach we're talking about.
And I love that. And again, I feel like you're just reading into my history when it comes to things like that, because, learning and I'll be honest with you, I got the certifications, to help people, but also I wanted to learn myself. And once you learn about the macro and micronutrients and how the body acts, like the body needs carbohydrates. Like the body needs fat, like the body needs those things. And for when I hear people say, I'm cutting out all the fat, or I'm cutting out all your carbs, and you're like, well, there's organs in your body that literally need those things. And then, but there is a part of this that people need to know, that as a society, we're not getting enough fiber in our diet. Like we don't get enough magnesium in our diet. We're not getting enough vitamin D in our diet. There are things that people need to focus on. And you brought up a great point with the protein. And again, I think you've probably been, eavesdropping in my house, because when I started all this, and I'm 6'5", 235, and
okay, all right,
I was, I'm embarrassed to say it, I was intaking about 75 grams of protein a day.
Sure, yeah, it's not uncommon.
And one of my buddies, I was like, man, I just, I started this and I'm feeling good, but it's just like nothing is really changing. He's like, you might want to do a calculator and see how much protein you should be getting. And I did it, and I was like, oh my, I'm getting less than half of the protein that I need to be getting.
You need like 200. Yeah,
I need 200. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and with the work that you do, I think a lot of people, because I'm in my 40s, also about to be 44 next week, and a lot of people see that 3-0 or that 4-0, and they think, well, this is my life. This is it. There's nothing I can do about it. When you get that client, it doesn't even have to be a client. It could be a friend. It could be an acquaintance. It could be somebody you meet at the store that says, "Oh, you're a trainer. I was going to go to the gym, but I turned 50 last week." And it's like, what are the things you tell them about their age and about the ability to still get that body or live that life they want to live?
Oh, that's so good, Mark. Because first of all, I'm not going to just explain to some random person in a grocery store, unless they ask me. And also, many of my clients they have a baseline level of knowledge, I'll say, because I'm a big fan of community and education. And for me, I don't even want to work with you until you've learned the basics, and I want to help teach you the basics, right? But those basics come down to our body composition and muscle mass. In my opinion, that is the huge missing ingredient with most people. Okay, we all focus on the scale. Very few people focus on their body composition. Well, even if you're 70 years old and you've been sedentary your entire life, meaning you've had a significant loss in muscle mass, this is a fact. This is why our metabolism slow down with age, not because we're old, not because of some mysterious process going on. It's because our muscles have atrophied because we're not using them. Our body says you don't need these muscles, so every time you eat food, protein, whatever, we're not going to even prioritize rebuilding those muscles. But just like you made the choice not to give those muscles attention, you could do the opposite now and give them attention. And you do that with strength training, with putting load on your body through lifting weights and with consuming sufficient protein. And that right there, that's 80% of it. 80 to 90% of it will get, even if you're overeating, undereating, whatever, that'll get you a significant portion of the way there. And when you're 70 and you've never done it before and you start training, you could actually rebuild muscle that you've lost, and you can turn back the clock 10, even 20 years over the next several years. So that's kind of where I would start, is muscle and body composition. Hey listeners, this is Philip Pape, and I'm excited to announce our upcoming totally free 21-day challenge starting December 1st. It's called the Wits and Weights No Diet Holiday Body Recomp Challenge. This challenge is about learning how to achieve body recomposition. That's building muscle and losing fat at the same time without dieting or restriction throughout the holidays. I'll be giving you free videos, guides, and personalized coaching in a private group chat to help you enjoy the holidays while being satisfied and guilt-free. The kickoff call is Friday, November 17, and the link to enroll is in the show notes. No matter what episode you are listening to, don't worry. If you're hearing this after November 17, you can still register and get access to the replay and resources before the challenge starts on December 1st. Again, to join the Wits and Weights No Diet Holiday Body Recomp Challenge to build muscle and lose fat without dieting through the holidays, click the link in my show notes. Now back to the episode.
And I think you're absolutely correct. That is so, I don't think people really, I'm not going to generalize, but a lot of people don't understand how important building muscle is, and how, especially as we get older, and the building blocks of proteins, amino acids, all that good stuff. We could get technical, but we're not going to do that. That's for you and your coach to do when you decide to get a coach. But one thing we can kind of, I don't want to say dumb it down, but put it in layman's terms. You talked about getting into the gym and starting this strength training program, and some people just don't know where to start.
Right.
And I remember my first few times at the gym where it's like, okay, I know the bench press machine, I know the squat rack, I know the barbells, and all right, I'll do those three things and I'll get out of here. And a lot of people kind of have that fear of going into the gym, and to say it just outright, they don't want to look dumb. They don't want to look they haven't been there. And that's a sad part of training in the society we live in now, where if you go to a gym and you're out of shape trying to take care of your life, it's not that people
irony, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Correct. Like why, like that's the person we should be celebrating.
Yes.
But my thought, what I did is I went and got a trainer. That's what I did. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make sure I knew, and now my sister is doing the same thing, and she's using me as her trainer, and she wants to learn. But for that person that says, okay, I want to get the gym membership, I want to go in 2 to 3 times a week, I just want to make sure I know what I'm doing, and let's be honest, not injure ourselves at the same time. So, I mean, there is YouTube University, but I want to tell people right now, be very careful with what you find online. Like, be very careful. But for that person, Philip, like, what do you tell them about that first few times into a gym and the weight program they use?
Yeah, I totally agree that when you first get started, if you're going to do barbell training, which again, in my opinion is I'll say the most effective or the most time efficient, effective way to get into it, if you have a choice. Not everybody does. Some people don't have access to equipment or the gym, or they only have dumbbells. Sometimes those are excuses too. And I've had clients and we're like, look, just buy a rack and barbell for your house. You've got the space, you've got the money, do it, please do it. You're going to thank me that you did that. But, even when I was learning the lifts properly about 4 years ago, I spent quite a while spinning my wheels and probably increasing my risk of injury because I didn't work with a coach just even once during that time. I took videos, I did form checks online. It's still not enough until you have somebody looking at you, either in person or through a video. That's okay. In the online world, we could do it. That says, hey, here, change your grip like this, use this cue, you're not getting to depth, blah, blah, blah. And use these spotter arms because otherwise you're going to crush the bar on your neck. Like all these little things for the safety and for the form. And once you get that, then you can just progress the load, progress the weight, and get really strong really fast. So make the investment, even if it's 1 hour with one coach, and say, look, I want to perfect my squat and my deadlift. Show me how. Yeah.
You bring up a great point, because I think a lot of people, and you've probably seen this, will think this takes a lot of time. And I'll be honest with you, like, it's the time investment is not that much, but you do have to be patient. Like, you're not going to go to the gym for a month and see, their 6-pack abs just like that. That's not going to happen. I think one of the greatest things about any kind of fitness program that is not a fad, that is not a fly-by-night program, is that it delays that ability to see what's happening. You have delayed gratification. And it teaches you patience. And if you're a person right now and you have so many people telling you like you're impatient, you can't wait for things, like you have that's part of your psyche, like start a fitness program and, wait for those results or go get those results. So,
Mark, I got to answer that because you just struck me like deep in my psyche, because I'm the most impatient person I know. And yet I feel like I've become a lot more patient. And I wonder if it's because of the training. You make a great point. I often talk about the mental resilience that comes from training if you do it the right way. And in fact, some people say they don't like lifting weights. And when I dig into their programming, there's reasons why. Like often it's because they're doing light weights, a lot of reps. And it's just like, it's like doing a cardio workout. And most people don't like that. But if you slow it down, if you go really heavy and you do low reps, I've found so many people who thought they'd never get into that. And within a week, they're just, my squat PR went up. And they get so passionate about it because you get under this bar that seems like, there's no way you could lift it. You do it and you go to the gym the next time and you know that you can lift at least that much. That is a fact. Like, you are going to get stronger unless you're severely underfed or not getting sleep or something like that. And you're like, well, I lifted 95, so now I'm going to lift 100. And you keep doing that every session. At some point, you get to a mental block. You're like, 135, wow, I've got the big plates on now. There's no way I can do that. But it's like, you've done it, and it's only a small change from the last time. So get under the bar and do it. Even if you feel like crap that day, if you feel sluggish, if you don't feel strong, chances are you're still going to be able to bang those reps out. And that creates some sort of mental toughness.
Yeah, I mean, they have those 2.5 and 5 pound plates for a reason. Like they have them for a reason. Those are not kiddie plates. Those are plates for help people to track their progress. And I love those plates, especially on squats and deadlifts. Like those are like, once you go from, 335 to 345, you're like, oh, okay, I'm getting stronger, and I think that's a good thing. And you want, here's the thing, as a coach and as a person who lives in this arena and lives here, you want people to feel that. Like, you want people to, like, you love seeing the progress. Like, you as a coach, like, this is what they're paying. Like, but at the same time, it's like, I want them to see this. Like, I want them to feel this. Like, because so many times, we hear people say the words, oh, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. I don't even want to do that. Like, can we just focus on, like, I appreciate it, but I can't do that. And then 30 days later, guess what they're doing?
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it. So that, I mean, I want you to talk about that part of your job and how that makes you feel to see that person who may have, said those words, I can't, and you didn't prove them wrong, but they proved themselves right.
I live for it every day. I mean, I live not only that in a vacuum, but relative to how they used to think about everything. So they might have come to me really focused on the scale and how much they weigh.
Ah, yes.
And now they're focused on their PRs, on their press and their bench and their squat, and the fact that they went to the gym and the fact that they slept and ate and recovered. And hey, I got all my carbs because that fuels my recovery and fuels my training. And because I did that, I lifted more this week. Right. So if I'm not getting that from a client, I feel disappointed, like I'm letting them down. Right. Because I want to see that. And then once they get through that mental barrier of focusing not on the scale, but on their performance and getting and building, right. And fueling and being a human. Like, think about it. This is being a human being on the earth. Like, we have to interact with stuff, and we have to interact with people and lift things and get off the toilet and whatever it is at whatever age you are. That's what being a human is. And that physical health leads to the emotional health we're talking about. And all of that feeds itself like a wonderful spiral. Then once you do that, we may say, okay, now you want to lose a little fat and see the six pack. That's actually going to be pretty easily compared to what you just went through. Like, we just have to dial back some calories, be a little consistent, and we're going to get there. But it's that first barrier that's very exciting.
Yeah, and I think one of the things in that you probably have to at least talk about often is those people who just making sure people understand the process, because a lot of people and I have come to me and say, hey, I just want to turn my fat into muscle. And it's like, well, you'd be the first to do that. It's
physically impossible.
It's physically impossible. But like, how do you, because I might be asking for me now.
Personal reasons?
Personal reasons now. But, how do you talk to that person who, like, they have it in their head that they want to get to the moon tomorrow, and it's like, you haven't even built a spaceship. It's like, I have this little bit of fat around here and here and here. I just want to turn that into muscle. Like, at no point does a coach want to make somebody, like, I would not speak to somebody like I just did. I would not do that.
Sure. You don't belittle them.
But exactly. But how do you use that bit of empathy and kind of help that person to actually know what the process is?
I mean, that really starts from the very beginning of the relationship, which for me, with most clients, is well before they are even thinking of being a client, right? This might be through the podcast, through our Facebook community, and through conversations, because I want you to have an understanding that this is a slightly longer term process. It does take patience, but it's actually a lot shorter than you think to be effective. Meaning, you've been spinning your wheels for 20, 30 years with yo-yo diets and just ineffective training programs. I'm asking you for 6 months to do it right for the first time in your life and get incredible results. So when you kind of put it in that context, 6 months is really nothing. And it's let's do it right. Let's do it right. Let's do it the right way. Because then when we're done, I want you to fire me and have the confidence you can do this for the rest of your life, and maybe even teach other people how to do it because you're so excited that it works.
Right.
So that's kind of where I come from, Mark.
I love it. And let's kind of shift over to the website and to the program, Wits and Weights, and it's over at witsandweights.com, and it's spelled just like you believe it's spelled, WITSAND weights.com. So you can go over there and subscribe to a newsletter, one-on-one coaching, his community, listen to the podcast there, kind of talk about how Wits and Weights was started and what was the genesis of it and what can people expect if they were to sign up with you.
Yeah, it started as the podcast. So I know, and that's maybe a less common story, right? A lot of times people create a podcast maybe to market their business. For me, it was a passion project. Started as a podcast. I walked through everybody through the foundations of primarily strength training at the time, and then eventually encompassed nutrition. And then that ties into our community. So it's all about this sustainable approach to fitness and nutrition, where strength and nutrition converge. I truly believe that strength and muscle mass are required. Like, they are required. Even if you are a runner, even if you're an endurance athlete, they're the foundation of all our physical attributes, and they make all of this other stuff easier. So if a client comes to me, if you want to work with me, it's generally 6 months. Sometimes it's 12 if if you want to go through the entire periodization phase of building muscle and losing fat. But usually 6 months is a good amount of time where the first, we'll call it 8 to 10 weeks, is like a pre-diet maintenance phase where we get your movement up, we get your training and the right effective program for you. We work on your nutrition, your protein, your tracking, and so on. Other things like hydration, sleep, stress, whatever the client needs. Then after that period, we're usually in a really good metabolic situation where your metabolism is as healthy as it can be. Your hormones are regulated. Okay. Especially ladies who are listening, like there's a lot of this that can be, I don't want to say fixed, but issues you might have that express themselves as like hypothyroidism and other things often come down to just proper nutrition and carbs and movement. Once we set that up, then we can go for the goal. Now, what's funny, Mark, is most people come to me wanting to lose weight. I would say 80% of the time, they end up changing that goal after the first few weeks to maintaining and body recomposition. So we kind of maintain their weight while they build muscle and lose fat at the same time, which guess what that's doing? You're effectively turning the fat into muscle.
Yeah,
okay?
Effectively, yes.
But you're just doing them in two separate transactions at the same time. And what all then happens is the waist size goes down. They start feeling great in their clothes. The confidence comes back. And you're now walking around this earth at the same weight, but feeling leaner, lighter, stronger, performing better. And then the mindset shifts toward, well, maybe the weight on the scale isn't where I think it needs to be anymore. So, and for the clients that don't do that, I have other clients that switched doing muscle building. So now I've had clients who said they had to lose 20 pounds and all of a sudden I have them gaining weight. And you might be listening and thinking, what? No way. That would never happen. And their lifts just go way up. They pack on so much muscle. And then we can go to a fat loss phase later and get that done relatively fast and quickly at higher calories, right? So eating more food. Finally, and this is important, Mark, we take them out of that, whatever goal that is, to a sustainable level of maintenance. And we learn how to maintain our weight for the rest of our lives if need be. So that's the general process.
That is such a great point at the end. And I meant to mention this early. If Philip sounds better than I do he definitely is a podcast host. He's got the acoustic foam and everything. He sounds, so I meant to mention that earlier, but you bring up such a great part of this process that a lot of people don't understand or fail to realize at the beginning. Like I want to say two things. One, if you're a runner and you're struggling with your runs, take some time off, strengthen the core, do some strength training. The best runs I've had in my life have been in the last year because I've focused on the strength training. Like I said, 235, I've had better runs at 235 than I did at 220 or 215. And like, I know people aren't going to believe me. I don't get tired. My legs don't get tired on my runs right now. Like my lungs might be out, like I might get tired, but I always feel like I can go further and longer because I have that core and quad, hamstring, calf strength, all that good stuff. But the one thing that is so important to this, so I'm going to tell people, if you're going to get into any kind of program, understand that you might end your work with your coach, but the point is to get you to a point where you're okay maintaining where you are. And you talked about yo-yo dieting. I'll be honest with you, like that could be more detrimental than just keeping the weight on, like going from 300 to 210 to 270 to 180, having a high sugar content, low sugar, high fat, like doing that can really do a number on your heart. And your goal, of course, is not to keep these people as clients forever. Like you don't want that. Like you want them to succeed on their own. However, people have to leave with the tools and the mindset and the ability to maintain all the work that they've done. And I don't think a lot of people really understand how important that part is.
You got it. I mean, I think that's core to being an ethical coach. Like I think it's part of my ethical philosophy that because I went through this myself and I only trust myself helping others because I have the tools and I want you to have those same tools. I don't want you to do something because I told you to. That's what too many destructive diets do, right? These 800 calorie diets that tell you not to move and stuff like that. Just trust us, you get the results. By the way, buy our product indefinitely. So it's just it's a matter of ethics. And also you're going to tell 5 friends about me because it worked. And then you're going to be able to also help people in your life who may not be able to afford a coach. And I think that's part of this. That's part of the generosity and the the movement, the impact that we make with others, just making more and more people healthy. So yeah, I think it's very important to be fully equipped and knowledgeable.
Fully equipped and knowledgeable. And that's, I've talked about, the mental health aspect of it and how I've, allowed a therapist to help me. And I talked about my physical, fitness and how I did the same thing. I got a coach. Like we seem to limit ourselves individually. We seem to put those blockers on and it's hard for us to tell ourselves one more rep when we're the only ones there. Mm. And I think there is a great space for people like you that you have the empathy piece because you've been through it. When someone has that look in their eye where they think, I can't get through this, or this is going to be my life forever. Like you recognize that look. You recognize the words that people use. So, before I let you go, there's people, again, we cater to a lot of runners. We cater to a lot of fitness people who like to stay in shape, but we also cater to people that may have fallen off. Life has gotten in the way. Like no one is telling you that there's not a reason for where you're at today. We understand the 9 to 5, got to get the kids to school, got to take them to practice. You might coach one of them. By the time you look at the clock, it's 10:30 and you haven't done anything for yourself. So when you have that person, when that person talks to you and you see the distress in their eyes and you see the kind of complacency in their body language, how do you kind of just help them just to get them started? What are some things that people can do? And yeah, we have the cliche, go get a gym membership, just go outside and walk. But what kind of work do you do to help that person know that they can get to where they want to be, even with a limited amount of time?
Man, you're getting deep. You're getting deep here. This is good. Well, we're definitely not at fault for many of the things that have happened to us, right? And going forward, though, we are 100% responsible for what we can do. And there's always this cliche of, motivation leads to action, leads to results. And I've said this on many other podcasts, but I prefer to just take action, messy action, whatever you want to call it, take a step forward and do something that gives you results in that small win to then give you motivation to do it again and again. And that's where I think we can get very objective about this and say, take all the emotional trauma and all the real depth out of it there and just say, let's use a system of tracking, of awareness, right? Let's treat this like we would our money with our budget or our kids going to college or our retirement plan and just gather information about what's going on. The more information we have, like information is power. So the more information we have about our eating habits, how much we eat, what we eat, whether we train, how much water we drink, and so on, starting with just one thing. It could be step count, right? If you don't even track your steps, how do you walk more tomorrow? And how do you know you're walking more than next week after that? Like you said, don't just say the cliche of move more. I agree. Like get a wearable, track your steps, look at your phone, see what the number is, and set a new goal. And now do that and get the feedback. And as soon as you hit that goal for the next day or two, that's a win that feeds back into, okay, now I'm on a roll. Now let me build that. And you can layer on habits and stack things together. You can, watch your Netflix while you're on your assault bike or whatever.
You better leave the assault bike out of this.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like stack things. I listen to podcasts sometimes when I go for a walk. Not always, because sometimes I just want to enjoy nature and de-stress too. And that's really what it is. Like when we talk about emotional eating, right? We can get very complicated and say, we're going to go find the root cause and dig into the trauma. Or we can say, what triggers you to emotionally eat? Okay, let's look at that trigger and do something about that trigger going forward. It might be controlling your environment. It might be have a conversation with your roommate or spouse. It might be having a written down plan for what you do when X happens, right? It might be tracking your macros and knowing that doing that keeps you away from the trigger causing you to eat. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying, Mark? So it's all very objective, rational things to deal with what we see as complicated emotional situations. That's the approach I like to take.
Yeah, and I think what you mentioned there is that we tend to complicate things that do not need to be complicated.
Right.
And again, I believe that you've been watching over me because it's exactly like the thing. One of the most important things is not just filling your plate too quickly and just the one thing. You mentioned the one thing. And that's why I focused on the time of day that I ate. I cut nothing else out of I didn't start working out. I didn't start running. Mm-hmm. I just cut when was the last time of the day I can eat? Because your body does need to acclimate a little bit. It does. Once, if I would have done that and be like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym at night, like my body would have hated me for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
But once you, and I want to throw something on, and I know I'm not the guest, but I do want to throw something on about the emotional eating part of it, is that people will say, like people have already heard, drink a glass of water before you eat. Like it does work though. Like it does work. Water is so good, and none of us get enough of it. I know I need to drink a little bit more now. And what you said about motivation, a lot of us crave it. A lot of us look for it. A lot of us, I need to feel motivated. I'm just not motivated today. Well, the gym is still there. Like it didn't go anywhere. Like it's like the weights are still there. The resistance bands are still there. Your walking shoes are still there. Like they don't need motivation. And one thing I definitely want you to talk about is the moment. And I just thought about this, and I think it's a good thing for anybody who wants to become a coach or is in this space. Like the moment that person you're working with starts to get that discipline, and they may show up, 5 minutes early, or they may show up and they're already warmed up and ready to go, and they're asking you for more. Like the moment that person you see that discipline has grown in them. Like, what is that feeling like for you?
Oh man. And that can happen. That can happen a week in, and it can happen 3 months in. It really depends on the client. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I think as a coach, I can help someone get to that point sooner, right? Especially if they struggle with it. So meaning that if they're already in a train of thought of, I am this and I have been this and I fail at this, as opposed to, I'm the person who trains every day and I'm the person who eats well and all that. I see it in their weekly check-ins. I see it when they reach out for me with questions and they say, well, I didn't do this because of this, right? I hear the excuses. I hear all these things. Now, fortunately, they have me as a support structure, which you can have in your life, even if it's not a coach, who says, all right, fine, you did that. That's in the past. What are we going to do going forward? And why did that happen? And let's diagnose it and change that. And then you ask me how I feel. So I feel, I guess, vindicated, satisfied, and proud, right? On behalf of my client, when they all of a sudden 2 or 3 weeks in a row say, well, yep, I was consistent again with my protein. And it almost becomes boring, which I want to see. Just today, right. I did a check-in today, and a client said, I feel like a broken record, but my wins I'm consistent with this. And I'm like, good. I'm like, we want things to be so boring that you don't even think about them because they're just ingrained in your life, right? So yeah, that's how I feel.
I agree wholeheartly. Like there's nothing wrong with being practical, pragmatic, sticking to a schedule. That consistency is how, it's how bodies are made. It's how, dreams are achieved. That consistency. So that is great. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Wits and Weights. If you found value in today's episode and know someone else who's looking to level up their wits or weights, please take a moment to share this episode with them. And make sure to hit the follow button in your podcast platform right now to catch the next episode. Until then, stay strong.